Pagan all the time.
A hand-carved natural quartz crystal ball made into a necklace for divination on the go. Crystal balls have been used for centuries in healing and cleansing rituals, as well as for divination. The sphere represents infinity and the circle of life. While a wand uses focused energy, the crystal ball sends out energy in all directions. This makes it a great resource for discovering the complete circumstances surrounding a question.
Sarah had been trying to write a book for ages, but she was still on page 1 until she discovered SpeakYourOwnBook.com. Sarah teamed up with one of our trained writing coaches, who listened to Sarah's book idea, asked the right questions, and guided Sarah every step of the way. In 90 minutes, they had written the outline for Sarah's entire book. Within weeks, using the speak writing method, Sarah became a published author, both online and in print. Whether it's a textbook, an autobiography, a novel, or a children's book, speakyourownbook.com can help.
Yeah.
Visit our website today to download our free 50-question guide and schedule your free consultation. With Speak Writing, anyone can publish a book. Speak your own book today. You speak, we write.
Lord of Midwinter Invocation. Cernuno Seculos Santa Claus, Lord of Midwinter, give us pause to think of you upon this night and contemplate our heart's delight. For you are the giver of gifts held dear, who rules the decline of the dying year, when we look within and try to see our heart's secret and hidden mystery. Dreams and visions you inspire, revealing in the midnight hour what is hidden from the eyes of day, and the conscious mind has shut away. Inspiration's spark and our soul's small voice, which guides us and inspires our choice, if we can but still our mind and hear. Of all gifts we will hold this most dear. For in the still of the longest night, when the moon provides the only light, you too, old Lord, will look inside, to see what your own soul may hide, and there within your own small spark will be rekindled and banish the dark, as the reborn sun again ascends, and days grow long till winter ends. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Salem, and tonight is Christmas Eve. And for me as a pagan, Christmas Eve is always an interesting experience because, of course, my holiday was the Sabbat of Yule a couple of days ago. But, most pagans have many friends who are Christian, and also many friends who are Jewish, so we often end up finding ourselves involved in Christmas, Hanukkah, or even Kwanzaa celebrations, because we know people for whom these are the appropriate holidays. For a large number of pagans, there are many Christian relatives, and one finds oneself at family gatherings which are honoring the Christmas season. For me, that really isn't the case. I have lived pretty much exclusively among pagans pretty much my whole life, particularly these last many years, and I know very few people who are actually out celebrating the Christmas holiday. Most do celebrate Yule, and for me each year, it actually is the Yule holiday that we normally gather on. Although there are frequently secondary gatherings on Christmas because everything's closed, and you might as well. And it's a good day to take a rest and to enjoy the programming. Personally, I've always enjoyed the Christmas specials, the Christmas carols. They're very festive, they're very pretty. And, as a pagan living in the United States and probably many other countries around the world, the Christmas season is omnipresent, even though it's not our particular holiday. And we have many of these same cultural memories that people would have who happen to be Christian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever, because it's part of the ambient culture. So personally, I actually enjoy listening to Christmas carols at this time of year because I find them very, very pleasant and very interesting. And this reminds me of another issue we talked about on the vlog recently, which was culture and the importance of the arts. And, all of those songs, all of that music, all of the visual symbolism of the holiday are extremely important in maintaining these customs of the holiday. And we as a community, the pagan community, need to take notice of this. I often talk about the importance of having our own music, our own artwork that we can identify with. And one of the reasons for this is it creates a sense of cultural continuity, a heritage. And this is a very important thing. And I think that it's something we need to give more attention to. But anyway, that's really kind of all I have for you tonight. It's a very slow night here in Salem. Pretty much everything is closed, although I do have the open sign up and actually did have some people in earlier. But for the most part, it's pretty quiet out there. And I hope you're having a lovely ambient holiday or a wonderful Christmas if it is your holiday. And until next time, may you blessed be.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. We're back with our Yule Marathon, and we've had a great day. We've been doing well. We're going to be talking to Kennedy. Okay, I lost it already.
Schönberg.
Schönberg, okay. That you have to take a whole drink for, folks. And he is an artist and also a curator and sharing of other artists and shows and things like that. And welcome, Kennedy. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the time today.
And so you do art. And I think art is one of those things that we have a lot of in the community and very little in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about your art?
My art is more based on metaphysical concepts, and it's also gothic and horror and pagan based. So it's a mix. My primary medium is bones. I actually carve bones, real bones that have been ethically sourced. No animal was killed in order to get its bones. I also use other sources like wood or horns or antlers, which are all ethically sourced. People think that you kill an animal to get the horns. A lot of deer shed their horns. That's why they're called shed. I do wood burning, painting. I've created Ouija boards, giant artistic planchettes, lots of what are they called? My brain is cramping because I've been up since 3 a.m. Runes, and create our own deck of tarot cards called Wood Tarot. Art for me helps me release all my stresses and things like that.
So let's right away. Let's go. Where can they find your art? They can online.
If you do like a Google search, you can type in my name, Kennedy Schönberg, or the art of Kennedy Schönberg, and I have a Facebook page and an Instagram which has all my art. I literally post on my art at least once a day. I do something. Okay. I try every day to add a piece of art.
And if you see something you like, you just go ahead and DM him or contact him.
Correct. You just message me on the little message apps. I think I have my phone number on a couple of them. You can text me. I respond as soon as I see the message. If my phone is working right, I'll respond within minutes, unless I'm sound asleep.
Okay, that's good. And so yeah, and we're gonna have that in the notes as well. And so I heard bones, carving bones. That sounds really interesting because I know a lot of bone collectors.
Yeah.
And I know that people ask me, well, what do you mean bone collectors? They collect from roadkill or animals that have passed, or in other systems, or systems where the animal has passed, sometimes violently. Roadkill is not nice, but it doesn't leave the animal to be wasted. And I even have a friend who says, "Oh, I'll wait until the vultures are done." They have turkey vultures in middle of Illinois, that sort of thing. And
so in Illinois, you shouldn't really be picking up roadside kill because you're supposed to have a permit. But there are roadside. The Department of Transportation has dump sites, and you always go there and pick through that. Or you just find bones that have been what they call naturally dealt with or nature cleaned, usually along water sources like rivers and streams. That's where people can actually find them quite easily.
I did not know that. That's interesting because there are a lot of bone collectors out there. Skulls and pieces of it, and so there's nothing wrong with that, and because as you said, ethically, because I know there are a lot of other people who would say, "Oh no, you should never do that," but you carve them. So what do you carve them into, or how to?
How? There's different ways. Typically I use a Dremel, but I also use awls or different types of sanding equipment, files and things like that. Depends on what exactly I'm carving. And most of my artistic stuff that I carve in bones runs along Viking themes, very paganish, more Wiccan styles. I'll have moons or the mother goddess on there, or just sort of, I don't want to say hatchet marks, but there are these. If you were to look at Viking clothing, or remnants of their society, you'll see these triangle markings that are sort of almost cuneiform. And I incorporate that stuff for tidal movements like waves and very tribalistic. Um, I actually have a piece that I could quickly transport the camera over. Let's see if
Okay.
I could actually change the camera angle. Yeah, right
Your
there.
walls are beautiful. They're filled with here. Let me go ahead and change
Thank
our
you.
point of view. There
And
we go.
there's one
Wow.
skull that I've carved. And I will often, with a skull, what I'll do is when I'm working on it, I will turn it or add like gold leaf or silver leaf, and it's real. It's not fake. It's real gold leaf and silver leaf and stuff like that. So they'll have that. I've um I've been doing this now, the carving of the bones, for about 9 years, and I'm pretty well known in the bone carving community.
I didn't even know there was a bone carving community. So we are learning so much through this marathon. Now, for folks who are bone carvers, there is a community. If you're just getting into it, there is a community. Now, I want to talk about the second thing you mentioned, because I think it's very popular. Tarot is a growing art. It seems to be getting more adherence every day. And you said
Yes,
you do the wooden tarot. Can you talk about
yes,
that?
absolutely, yes. So a lot of my hand art, like drawing and painting, comes from dreams. And I had a dream of drawing a tarot card that was mandala based. And so I got up in the middle of the night and drew it out. And I was like, that's cool. And then I had another dream. And I had a week worth of dreams. And that was a week worth of tarot cards. And then I was like, I wonder if I could draw out a deck. So over the period of 4 months, I drew a tarot card almost every day until we had a full deck. And a friend of mine does laser burning because I couldn't hand burn all these cards.
No.
So I sent him the pictures and I asked him if he would be interested in doing this. And so after a little bit of work, we came up with a full deck of wooden tarot cards. I actually have our display board right next to me. I wasn't even planning on showing it to anyone,
You
but I
should. This
can.
is this is what we want. We want people to find wonderful and unusual gifts.
All right. Well, and we sell tarot cards, and these are wood. They're not paper thin veneer wood. They are actually good solid wood,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see them.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is amazing when you hold the deck in your hands. It feels it's like you're electrified with them. And
So
they're
it's
the regular
okay, go ahead.
they're the regular size tarot cards. So I mean, literally, you could just use them like regular size tarot cards. We have two deck sizes, the traditional size, which it comes out to like 3x5, I think, or a little under that. And then we also have a miniature set, which is like 1x2 or 2.5x3. I don't remember the exact dimensions. That's not my department. My department is just drawing them.
Yeah.
The smaller deck comes with a box already made for it, and the larger deck you have to have your own box, or you can order one added to it. But when we first printed them off, it was quite amazing. When I held it, I was like, wow. I mean, the hair on the back of my neck stood up because it was like you were really connected to the universe. It wasn't just a piece of paper that I
Mm-hmm.
was hoping for the universe to give me something. It was a direct connection to the universe. And it's not the flimsy little paper that or wood that you'll see online, the veneers where they bend. They don't bend.
So
They're
this
rock
is
solid.
like for serious reading. You go out there, they fall like wood. You see them. Wow.
Exactly.
So that is so for you tarot collectors. That's a rare item, and I don't think there are that many out there. So if you're a tarot collector or a tarot user, I could see. Can you imagine asking somebody to shuffle that? It'll be a whole different experience for them. So
Well,
there you go.
absolutely. When I have people shuffle because I was raised doing tarot. I started doing tarot when I was 7 years old. My mother was a professional tarot reader, and one of the rules that they never shuffle it like it's a card deck because they're not card decks. They're
Mm.
tools or gateways into the universe, and so you have to treat it with a level of respect. And sort of since it's kind of astrological based, it
Mm-hmm.
should be shuffled like it was planets. in different orbits. So that's the way I do it, and I let people do it, and they just sit there and they'll hold each section that they are shuffling, and they'll smell them, and they get this texture feel to it. They're like really connected to the cards that they're about to provide for me to lay out for them.
That's a fascinating. Now let's go ahead and talk about your service to community, because so you've seen the wood carvings, you've seen some of the bone carvings, you do some of the paintings. I see all that beautiful art, but you also mentioned that you help organize art
Yeah.
shows. Can you talk a little bit about that, because that's important?
Sure. Until the pandemic hit, we were having bones and cones. And actually, I think you could see right behind me one of our old flyers.
I remember that. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was an art show for marginalized artists, typically pagan or gothic or horror-based artists. And what we would do is create an art show venue for them to come, and they literally keep 100% of their sales. They just came in, and we would draw the crowd in by offering ice cream as part of the process. So it was a dark art and ice cream social.
I remember that.
And
I do. Okay.
Yeah. And we started, the first show we had 8 years ago or 9 years ago was 6 artists. And we had managed to continue to grow. The last show we had 32 artists.
Wow.
And we had one come from New York, one come from Pennsylvania, and 2 from Ohio. So they're traveling far to be in our show now. That's how popular we have become.
And that's great. And we were talking about that, this is part of, we want people to buy from our own community. That's why we're doing this. We're introducing new people to new people. People are going to be have been incredibly surprised by the diversity of people we have in offerings. And you had a really good point. We were, and are talking about, it's not enough just to buy from an artist. You need to do more than that if you really want to be really supportive.
Exactly. And, right now, it's people, money is tight, and we understand. And most people that have friends, most artists that have friends have already bought from them to be supportive. But that seems to be where it kind of ends. And I encourage people, especially artists and people who are friends of artists, it is not enough to support them by just buying one piece once in a lifetime. But I'm not telling you go buy more. What I'm saying is that you share this art, you promote your friends, and you just basically share it on the social media, or just as well as post a picture of the art you bought in your home so people can see people are actually buying it and putting it on display. Because that way, a growing audience is what helps your fellow artists. Even myself, I share people's art all the time. I buy other people's art. You promote them. People will say, well, artists are in competition. We are not. No artists are in competition. For the simple fact is my art is not like anyone else's, and no one's else art is like me. Some of my friends I like your art, Kennedy, but I want that person's. Cool, go buy that person. Yeah, all you do is because that person has friends that may not like their art to buy, but they may like mine. And so we exchange. And that's what I promote, is the idea of sharing your friend's art is really helpful to them. Buying one piece is great, and giving them great positive feedback saying how awesome it is, that's nice too. However, the best way is to have the rest of the world share it with them so they can see it. And then maybe some of those people in that expanded audience will decide to buy art. And that is where artists become successful.
So folks, you hear that. I think that's a really sensible, very reasonable answer. Because I've bought an art. I've got a number of pieces of art, some are on my altar and things like that. But I'm not much of a materialist, so people don't. But I love seeing art in other people's homes. I see it on the walls all the time, and places like a lot of our temples are now putting people's art on their walls, and you ask about it and things of that nature. Coffee shops do it a lot. I think coffee shops are lovely when they put the wall in the art and they have a little tag and where buy it. So I think
that's what I do. All the art I have little tags of the artists, literally. Okay. So if people come to my house, like this is an art piece by Damon Raleigh, and his business card is right underneath. I have an Arthur Ashe. His information is right there. I try to do that. So when people come to my home, and my friends say my house is like a gallery / museum, they have the opportunity because they bring friends. They can see, oh, I love this art. There's their business card and contact information, so they can go forward. I don't expect that of everyone else in the world, but the idea is I'm doing what I'm saying. I'm promoting other
Mm-hmm.
artists as much as I can.
That's absolutely wonderful and fascinating. So, so wow. So so folks, there it is. Living the life and living the dream and doing that. So, okay, so let me go into our last question, and we're going to be back. I have a feeling we're going to talk to Kennedy more in the future here soon, because I think this has been eye-opening for me. Thank you. So what is your Yule practices? I know you're out in the Midwest, the land of snow and darkness at times. Do you have Yule practices?
So I was raised in a Wiccan family, and we celebrated. My mother really pushed it. A person who is part of the universe should understand all the features of the universe. So we literally celebrated as many holiday forms as we could. So we have a Christmas tree, we have a menorah, we would celebrate an Eid and the colors. We would go all the way to understand these other religions, not only because a lot of these religions would persecute us. So, it's good to know your enemy. But the key here is if you understand these people and what their values are, you can meet them at a level that's equal and fair and less hostile.
Mm-hmm.
And while alternative religions or paganism or whatever you want to call it is kind of becoming very popular right now, it is not, I think, in the best terms, being respected in its popularity. It's you get all these people are saying, I am this. Well, what does that really mean to you? And they don't really have an answer because they just want to be something. And for me, Wicca is a connection to the universe and nature, and everything else. Everything is part of that. So we have to somehow increase our knowledge of that environment.
That makes absolute sense, and that's a lovely aspect of it. So find his art, Kennedy, and I'm gonna let him pronounce his last name again because it's still tripping my tongue here.
Kennedy Schenberg.
And how do you spell that?
It's SHEN is November, BERG.
Okay.
And you can find my personal Facebook page is Kennedy Coldforge. If people can't find the last name, just Kennedy Coldforge, and then
terrific.
YouTube.
And so as I do, I think this is great. I think not only to support the artists, support Kennedy here, but also support other artists and show them. I mean, I think this idea of putting tags next to things is something a lot of fun. It makes your house a little bit of a mini gallery, and it lets us walk around. So yeah, go ahead and say it. You look at your.
A lot of artists have their signature or stamp on their art, and a lot of times it's not really readable, or it's just initials, and then we forget. So that's why I put that tag there. So because I can't remember all the artists' names, and a lot of them just have like little symbol or a couple scratched letters, and I'm like, I don't know who that is, and it's hard to look that up. But if I have that tag, then I say, oh, this person, and that's how to contact them. Yeah.
There you go. And so, so we're going to continue. So to continue on. I hope you guys are all having a great Yule festival. And I think this is one way, for those people who you say can't find anything. I think this is a little unusual. I think this is something that would blow their minds. And so you still have plenty of time to contact Kennedy, Kennedy Coldforge. I like that out there. So as always, I give my guest the last word. Do you have anything last things to say to our audience?
Treat the world how you want to be treated.
With that, have a happy holiday and blessed be.
Man, blessed be.
We're back with your Yule Marathon, and we're with a very special individual, also known sometimes as the Witch of Oz, but she's Tamara von Fulsom. Okay, take your drink. And she has done numerous books. One of the latest books that people are out there about elders, and she has written numerous books. There's a lot of practices out of Australia, but you can buy her items anywhere. And so, welcome. Thank you, Lady Tamara.
Thank you very much, Ed, and lovely meeting you and your wonderful constituents that are watching the show. I hope they enjoy our little talk today.
I also too. So let's go ahead and talk about a little bit. A lot of people know who you are, but some may not. Can you tell a little bit about who you are?
Yep, sure. I mean, I've been involved in the craft now for 55 years. I was initiated in 1970 into traditional coven, and when I mean traditional, I mean pre-Gardnerian or Alexandrian. The clan that I belong to is well known right back to the 1700s as the clan of Boskednan, and it's traditional witchcraft of Cornwall. And in fact, I have a book coming out in the beginning of next year, which for the first time reveals a lot of that concepts, which is very, very different to what people think witchcraft is these days. And I've been involved. I was also ordained with the Fellowship of Isis. I'm also an Alexandrian high priestess. I've just done quite a lot because I wanted to experiment. I wanted to know the truth. And my journey at that time when I was young, there was nothing involved. There were closed groups, closed covens. No one was talking openly about anything. And I had to search and travel to find my truth as much as I possibly could. And that was beneficial in meeting wonderful people like Raymond Buckland, who assisted me and helped me, and a lot of other people like Scott Cunningham, and a few other people that were and have become great friends of mine in the past.
And recently we've been exploring the videos, and there seems to be a very large movement towards recognizing Buckland because, you know, he passed away a little more than 5 years ago. And now there's a resurgence because of the museum.
That's correct.
Lady Tony and Steve are all Steve Emerald. Yes, we saw the interview with him. Have been just sort of doing an amazing job, and there's been this revival of what has happened with Buckland, and you cover them in one of your most popular books now, and it's, boy, I should have written this down, of elders. That's right, pagans and witch elders of the world. And I thought it was very fascinating. He's right there on the cover on that. Can you talk about that book first?
Yeah, I think the problem is growing up with the craft movement and traveling, being lucky enough to travel the world and meeting so many people. Most people never got the chance or opportunity to meet our great elders who were all crazy in their own way of life, but were so gutsy that they fought the establishment and cleared the pathways for all the people that are following today. Raymond Buckland was one of the greats who just took the craft from England, brought it and introduced it to America, and helped just spread that word. He was known as the father of witchcraft. He was a mentor to me and a good friend. And his coven, his last high priestess, the wonderful Lady Tony Rotunda, who is now the owner and keeper of the Buckland Museum in Cleveland, Ohio, with the beautiful director Steve, who's running it there. And he's got a fistful of knowledge. He's really been gaining a lot of momentum there. And it's just, I wanted people to understand the elders, past, present, and those that are upcoming, what I call the eldlings, because they're still young, but they're not old enough to be an elder, but they will be. So I wanted this book to represent them. And it took so long because there was a lot of people didn't want to be in it. A lot of people didn't want photos in it, didn't want anything. And it took me years to get the permissions and get the journeys and get the words of all these elders and people from the past that I'd known to compile them and put them in the book. And the book has been absolutely amazing. It's won awards. It's a very top seller. It's just great. And if anyone wants to know any of the elders from the 12th century right up to now, and all those that I see that are young now, that are upcoming, that are becoming to take over from us, who are with one foot in the grave, so to speak, they're taking over from us. They're going to be the elders of the future. So people need to be aware of who they are. And also there's a lot of demigods out there that like being their own god in their backyard, which we're not including because we don't want them to be teaching people. We want people that have that humble nature, that knowledge, that wisdom to be able to partake, share, and teach people and guide people correctly in the pagan movement, whichever way it goes.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a very important distinction. I think that's an important distinction that people are seeing a lot of it, because like in the United States, we've seen a growth. I've been reading about the growth in Australia, all over the world. The craft is growing in leaps and bounds in such multiples. And so having a history book, where can they get that book and any of your other books?
They can get it at most of the popular websites worldwide, Amazon, Barnes and Noble, just any of them. Or they can get it from my website. And if they get it from my website, I can give them a signed copy as well, which is special. That's at https:// and my name, tamaravonforthlen.com. Or they can get it from my website, www.witchofoz.com as well.
I love that name. Because I know, because you share that, because you also are friends with Oberon, right?
With who?
Oberon Zell.
Oh, Oberon, yes. Oh, my 80 years old. What a great old soul.
And then you just handed over the headmaster to a younger,
yes,
another younger elderling, as you would call them.
And that's what we're all doing. Our elderlings are taking over, because we've got to be able to pass the mantle before we kick off the perch. And that's important. And Oberon has been here for us since the 60s. He's led the way. He's charged ahead. And he's crazy, zany mannerisms, but he's such a beautiful soul. And happy birthday, Oberon. Love you to pieces.
Absolutely.
And we did a tour a few years ago, and the Wizard of Oz and the Witch of Oz traveling, which was quite funny. But yes, he's a beautiful, beautiful soul.
And so, and that, so you can see that in the book. So you have a number of bestsellers. What would you recommend if somebody were to pursue reading your material? How would they do it?
Well, I mean, the big conflict at the moment with people is really solitary versus mixing with a coven or clan or learning traditional ways. I do recommend that we are social creatures. We need to learn from each other, and learning set craft methods or ways is very good at doing that. But this is one of my top sellers, Solitary Wicca. As you can see that, I don't know if it's reversed in your camera, but
no, it's not.
That's one of that's one of my best sellers, along with the Pagan Witch Elders of the World, which is very good as well. It's very informative. It gives people a basics, and it's a genuine, down to earth. It's a combination of old and new. So it's traditional witchcraft as well as modern Wicca involved in it, by connecting it all together to create a good journey. And it's got a lot of stuff in there that a lot of people may know, but then there's a lot of stuff that people don't know. And it's just about putting it all together, compiling it for one student or one seeker to find their truth. And from here, it's up to them whether they want to remain pagan or Wiccan or witch or become a Hare Krishna. It doesn't matter, as long as they know their truth, find their truth, and their spirit is awakened in that reality for themselves. I do have more books. One of my new books, which is coming out, which is probably going to be one of the most incredible books I've written. It's taken me many, many years. I'm very unsure about wanting to publish it, because it's classed The Lost Magic of Cornwall, and that's the title of it. And it's The Secrets and Magic of Witchcraft of Boskednan, which is where my family tradition comes from the stone circles in Cornwall. And this is all about covering true traditional witchcraft, and that should be out in the beginning of the year. I believe that will be my bestseller, and the best book I've ever written, because it's done totally with my heart and passion.
I can understand that. It is hard, because there is a lot of, people know me as a numbers person. Other people study paganism, I study pagans. I'm the other way around. So I'm always studying our communities. We're like 79% still solitary. The community is still, and in other parts of the world is even more. So that it is still become a very solitary practice, which it wasn't in the early days. It was more of the idea of it. And I think one of the things that has helped the solitary community, as well as helped create it, is the creation of great books. So what's the first book you ever wrote? What was your first published book?
My first book was called The Complete Teachings of Wicca, Book 1, The Seeker, followed by a more advanced book, which is Complete Teachings of Wicca, Book 2, The Witch. And they were my best books that I've got, because they were training manuals. They were educational manuals that people could use and help guide them through all the stages. So they had to learn all the understanding or underlying sort of things, guide them through all the different concepts of what they're needing, but not having to spend a fortune in finding their spiritual truth. It's about going out to nature, finding your truth, finding a piece of wood, that's your wand, finding a skull or a bone or something, and making talismans or charms. It's about going back to the raw natural essence of what the world is all about. And that's quite important for people to go back to their truth, their essence. Don't study and worship gods from another country or culture that you have nothing to do with or not deal with. Understand your DNA, understand your ancestors, and just go for it. And that first two books, Complete Teachings of Wicca, book 1 and 2, you can get at any website around the world. I'm actually offering them to any viewers at the moment or anyone out there as a Yule gift from me for the 2 books for the price of 1 via my website as a gift. So people can contact me directly and I will sign them and send them to them.
And remember that website. Remember, folks, this is the holiday season. Spend with our community. It's witchofoz.com. And
Yeah.
of course, we have the full name. We'll put this in the listings. You know the routine at this point.
Yeah.
And so folks do that. So I think that's very interesting that you did manuals for your first set of books, and now you're doing history.
Yeah. I believe that history and manuals are the same. So we need to educate and bring out the truth, because there's a lot of crap out there. I'm sorry to use that word, but there's a lot of rubbish out there that is so wrong. People keep changing the rules. You know, I mean, I heard somebody the other day say there's only one rule in paganism. There are no rules, you know, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, people, grow up. Everything has a rule. Everything has a law. Everything has a way of life. Even your parents used to give you a whack on the backside if you broke their rules and laws. So it's about finding that. And I think people just need to awaken to themselves and know the elders, know the history, know the truths, and you can add to it if you wanted to make it yourself and your own individual thing, but have the basis, the raw basis of what is true before you start playing. You know, one of my children's books I wrote called The Little Witchling is about a little witchling that plays with magic, and every time she does a spell, she screws up and it goes backfires and goes backwards. And the moral of the story at the end of it is basically that don't play with something you don't understand until you learn about what it's all about.
Oh, that's very interesting, because one of the biggest things that people are asking for you are children's books. We're having a big revolution in an evolution, I would call it, in the United States, about taking back the education of children from just the public system, just even the private system. That one of the things I say it all the time myself is that we're never going to be a truly free people until we own our own education.
Exactly.
I mean, that, sort of thing, because that's where a lot of culture, a lot of paradigms come into the child's life. And if we're not involved with it, because I think books like that are important, because I think one of the things I do here. So I've heard the rules of pagans. I've heard that for 40 years now. I mean, that's always been, there's no rules, and okay, try that. But, and on that, but one of the other rules is that we aren't supposed to teach our children. This is another rule that I think is wrong, and is that we don't teach our children. We want them to have a free choice. And ultimately, nobody else does. And I think having a great book like that helps, kind of break that barrier. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, about the idea that we should be educated.
Oh, totally. I mean, the problem with the world is governments and society have taken away our responsibilities to be adults, be parents, and be human beings. They're saying, we grow up with the words, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself. Don't do that, you'll fall. Don't do that, you'll mess up. And yet the fact is we need to experience our own failings. We need to be able to fall and get up and help ourselves in that. And I just wish people would take away that and allow us to be responsible. And that's what a true pagan is, being responsible for yourself and for every action you make. Don't blame other people, because it's not anyone else's fault except your own. You take one step at a time. And when people want to play games, and they say there's no rules, I say, well, okay, drive your car with a blindfold on and see how long that rule lasts. It's just the way the world's going. And I just want people to start going back again. Everyone's saying I'm a pagan, but they don't even know what a pagan is. Or I'm a Wiccan, and they don't know what that is. Or I'm a witch. They just wake up one morning and say I'm a brain surgeon, and they expect that they know everything and the universe is going to bring everything to them. I believe that there's very much a difference today between wishcraft and witchcraft. One is wishing and one is truth, and that's about where it comes from.
I get that. Wayne Dwyer's book is early on was very much. He had a book literally called Witchcraft, and we have the Secret, and those are some really great ideas, but they leave you kind of like not finishing the work, because you can make. I always say you can cast a spell, but do you do the work afterward? Do you make those opportunities happen? I've been very fortunate in my life to have that, but I get to meet wonderful people like yourself. I'd like to cover one more thing, if it's okay. Is that you talked about the Dalai Lama? You were with him for a while, and you wrote
Yeah,
a book out of that.
yeah, I worked with it because out of all the people that I've ever been drawn to in the world, I mean, I used to, when I was young, I was very undisciplined. I couldn't meditate to save your life on it. You know, I was fidgeting. I just couldn't do it. And to me, the first concept of true meditation or true ritual in being a witch is meditation, learning to shut down, go within, and all these things. So I joined a Buddhist sanctuary to learn to meditate, to be a bit more disciplined. And from there, I started assisting the journeys, the tours of the Dalai Lama when he came to Australia. I owned a large security company and that at the time, and we started offering security for him and picking up the monies and donations and doing all that. Then I got to meet him and talk with him and share and told him a little bit about my story. And he was quite fascinated because he didn't really understand what Wicca was. And then when I told him, he goes, "Oh, so you're like a vicar of Wicca." And that's what he called me as a joke, you know, without, I think, really even understanding at the time. But he did eventually. He gave me some beautiful blessing beads and some bits and pieces of him. And, you know, he's getting old as well now, but he's one of the most blissful men in the world, one of the most funny people as well. He has great sense of humor, always laughing, always joking, but always so serious. And he's not wanting people to be Buddhist. He's wanting people to be kind and generous to each other.
Mm-hmm. And that's an absolute truth. So let me go ahead and offer this. We're practicing Yule in the United States, and this is part of our Yule celebrations, but you're celebrating Beltane, right?
What's that? What's that? What's Beltane?
May Day.
Yeah.
May Day in the States.
Well, see, I mean, Yule has always been associated around Christmas, but it's not. It's, you know, everyone has had that in history. I mean, the Hopi Indians in America called it Soyal. You know, Roman Saturnalia was another one, or the Dongzi in China. You know, everyone has that. Even the Egyptians, honoring their triune, had their festival as well. Yule is Germanic. It's Germanic in origin and Nordic, and then later it was Celtic. And it's about associating the cold depths, the darkness times when everything descends, everything shuts down. It's about thinking of the community and giving to the poor, giving to the elders, giving to the community, and sharing along those, and honoring and calling back the light. And that's where it's very, very different in many, many times or many ways of doing that, you know. So it's sort of, it changes quite a lot.
So it's very much, and so its origination is very much, for the timing of it, is in the Northern Hemisphere right now, because of that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's about entering the darkness, entering the world of darkness, and then calling for the light to come back. That's basically what it is. You know, asking. It's about the end of growing dark, and it's about returning the light in that respect as well. It used to be called a lot of terms. I mean, Yule was a 2-month affair. Ages ago, it used to be a 2-month affair of celebration, which was called the kings and queens of early Britain explained that the Yule was this 2-month affair where they used to get out and party for 2 months and enjoy the festivities to call back the sun and call back the light. And it changed its name quite strongly as well. It was Yule in Old English, or Yule in Old Norse as well. So it has changed, but it's also been adopted by so many cultures all over the world as a Christmas time. But it doesn't really have anything to do with Christmas. It's just a celebration of the dark, calling back the light. And this is where the Yule log comes in. You know, the Yule log comes into effect that the clans used to get this big tree, chop it down, and they used to put candles or torches in the big tree to represent all the clans or tribes of that community. And they would drag that log through the town, and then they would save that Yule log and then decorate, because it was decorated with cakes and biscuits and sweets and lollies and all this. And then it would go to the feasting. People would feast off it as a feasting table. And then it was kept for the following year. And parts of it were cut up and given to people to bring forward the light for the next year. So it's changed a lot, the traditions, but it's quite a beautiful old tradition.
It is. And I know a lot of people are trying to go back to it. And that idea of it. And it is contributed in, at least from the United States point of view, and I've noticed in parts of Europe, I can't talk for other things, it has gotten mixed match with the gift giving and the Santa Claus, which are kind of pagan-esque, but it is not necessarily part of the Yule. But, you know, it is a time of celebration and the idea of gift giving and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But that's relatively modern, right? That part of it, or is it not?
No, the, gift giving is always, but it was a giving because everyone knew winter was coming. So it was about looking after the community. So people would put all their fruit, their grains, their meats, whatever, and get it prepared, and then they would then see the poorer of the community and they would give it to the poorer of the community. That's how the gifts started, and then all of a sudden the new god of the 20th century or 18th century comes into it, and then they start saying, well, money is the new god, so let's start using money and buying things as gifts and giving people clothes and jumpers, and then all of a sudden the children want toys, so they give them the toys, and from the toys we, you know, so it's changed. It's not, it's like every festival, it's like everything, it just blows out of proportion, and it all becomes a commerce. It becomes a financial business of $1 billion industry worldwide that does not support the pagan community, because most of our money is spent on other things, going to China or Asia or whatever with the toys and things we buy, where we should be supporting and using Yule to support our pagan businesses, our pagan cultures, our pagan authors, because they're the ones that are needing it. And people go, oh, you must be loaded, you must have a fortune because you've written all these books and you've got this, and you think, well, no, because every book that's sold out there, there's another million books brought out on the same time, you know, and that's exactly the problem. You know, I remember my first check that I got from my first books. I got a check for $30,000 for 3 months, my first book. And I went, oh my God, that's a lot of money. And then I looked at it. 90% of it was through ebooks. That's like $1.50 or $3 a book, you know, and you think, James.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I do think, and that's why we're doing this, and I really appreciate that. So Witch of Oz, .com is the one that's easiest to remember right now, but there's, you know, go out there, look at for the books. The more I'm going to do a direction. If you're going to go to Amazon, remember to use Amazon Cares for one of the organizations. I understand some people need to and they want to for various reasons. There's a number of the pagan groups who have their 501c3s and other sort of things. Use the Amazon Care function in that. I would ask you if you are going to use them, but buy directly. Go to your local bookstore, ask them to it, because her books are available everywhere, and if they don't have them, they'll be happy to order them from you. And you saw a lot of great shops a part of this, so just, you know, kind of do that.
One thing I want to just say here, Ed, is that the sad truth is that 99% of all the pagan authors that are out there can't get their books into bookstores. They're online, they're on websites, they're in all these things, but we need to have them. And to help pagan authors, you need to go to your bookstore and say, I want this book. I don't want to get it from Amazon or wherever. I'd like to get it from you. Can you get it in for me? Help them, help that small business by also helping the author as well.
And I think that's an important part and factor on that. So one thing, so you're not, so it's Christmas. I guess you're in the Christmas season and not the Yule season per se. But one last thing I want to know, you're going to be in the United States. You're going to be attending Starwood.
Starwood Festival in July. I think it's July 11th to 17th or something.
Yeah, 14th, I think.
Something.
Yeah. You know, you can go to our site, you know, that we will be covering Starwood. We will once again be out at Starwood. That sort of thing. And you'll be at the Buckland Museum. Check it out. The Raymond Buckland Museum in Cleveland, Ohio. I have a feeling your classes sell out soon. So as soon as you know that you want to go there to it, you should go ahead and sign up for those as soon as possible. And the great people at the Buckland Museum will help you do that really, really well, as you know. And it's a fascinating place. We're going to have more coverage on that. So as always, I give the last word to my guest here. And so anything you'd like to say to everybody?
I think firstly and foremostly, because I've been an elder and a teacher for many, many years, I think it's about community. It's not about being out there on your own. It's about connecting with other people. It's not about your personal choices or decisions and being who's right, who's wrong. It's about just coming together as a community and sharing. Yule is about sharing. Yule is about giving the gift of giving from your heart, not a gift, not $1 million, not $1, but if you're going to do them for the pagan community that you say you're a part of. Give it to them, buy pagan products, buy pagan gifts from pagan people that are genuine, and help everybody out and the author. And in doing that, it'll just keep monopolizing, and it'll just keep helping. And every dollar that will roll down will roll back to your pocket as well for the pagan community. And I just want to say, if I am indeed wise, I do not bid you enter the house of my wisdom, but rather lead you to the threshold of your own mind. Blessed be.
Blessed be. And thank you, folks. Witch of Oz. What more can be said? Be on with more of the showcase. We're continuing our Yule showcasing of great business across the community. And today we're with Mary Daisley, and she is known as the Psychic Navigator. I thought that was a very interesting title. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Ed. How are you?
So let's jump right into it. What is the Psychic Navigator?
Well, I am a psychic who has actually worked in the fourth dimension, and I work with time. My particular readings are a forecast. Now, based on you sitting down with me, this is what your timeline looks like if you stay your course. Okay, so if you like it, stay your course. If you don't like it, make some changes. But what I'm able to do is tell people when there's potholes in the road that is their that is their year and a half out.
So that sounds like very interesting, because I know a lot of people want readings to know about the future. The idea is just kind of trying to avoid some of the difficulties that you would face. So that's
Correct.
what to do. So yeah, I know that some psychics, just do it. They say they have the natural born talent, but you're a trained psychic. You've got credentials, right?
I have credentials, but I'm not trained. I am a member of Best American Psychics, which does double-blind testing and a background check on all of their psychics. So everyone is ethical. Everybody is accurate. They even throw in some questions to throw you off, to see if you just go, yeah, I see that, versus, no, I really don't see that. They really try to, in ways, trip you up to see if you are good.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, I know there's a lot of things out there. At the end of the day, every reader is good only to the ability that they can connect with your clients. If you
Correct.
can't connect on a client, so how do you connect to your clients?
Well, what I do is I start my reading by asking their first name and their city and state location. And I kind of send energy towards that area. I start shuffling. I do use a deck. I shuffle the deck until I hear, okay, stop. I cut it, and then I start talking. Usually I am, I want to say, I don't ask questions. I'll ask things. I don't ask questions to gain information. I ask questions to say, is this going on? Do you know a person like this in your immediate surroundings, whether it's work or whatever, and to make sure I'm on the right track. And then I just talk and go on through the year. I read in the season, which is a spread that I came up with myself. So it's 3 cards for the season we're in, and then so it would be fall, winter, spring, summer, fall. And I talk about what I'm feeling really strongly regarding that. It's a bit of channeling, because I actually have my eyes closed most of the time. I'm touching the cards and I'm talking about what I'm feeling and seeing and hearing. There are times spirit guides will come in. Their spirit guides will come in and say, tell them this. We've been trying to get them to do this. Tell them this. And I find that most people are able to make some really good decisions with a heads up on where they're headed. I'll tell people if somebody is their parents or in-laws somebody has heart issues, get them right to the hospital. This could be some, and not to have them, let them know that there's something that they need to be paying attention to, or something like that, because life happens. Life throws us even physical earthquakes sometimes, and all we can do is be slightly prepared so that we can be like, okay, I gotta get to the hospital, or okay, I gotta get them to the doctor or call the ambulance or whatever. I don't mess with this.
Right.
So I have been able to help people with relationships, with work, with business, whether to stay in their job or whether it's time to move. And I see when is actually a better time to make a move for them. Um, and it kind of runs the gamut of what I see, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychically. It really depends on the client I'm reading.
So let's go ahead. What is your website? Because we want you spending dollars this year. If you're going to spend dollars, I want you spending dollars with people like Mary. So what is your website?
It's really easy. It's my name, Mary, Mary, Daisley, DAISLEY.com. You'll see all my credentials. You can read my testimonials and decide on whether you want to, book with me. I am going to be running a special Pagan TV promo for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. If they want to book, say, I saw you on Pagan TV. I will take $25 off the reading.
Terrific. And so then you can go to the site, choose the type of reading you're going to do. And do you do it now? You do in-person readings? Do you do over Zoom? Do you do it over Skype? Do you do it by telephone? Do you do it every way that the client wants?
Okay, I use Zoom primarily for people who are out of state. If you are in the New England area, please check my website. I am at We Breathe Wellness in Walpole, Massachusetts, and that's one Sunday a month. Actually, this Sunday, December 4th, which is the day before my birthday, is I will be reading there, and they can book an appointment, and I can read for you. And this would be 1 hour readings, so you get a lot of information for your money.
Absolutely, I can see that. So let's talk a little bit about. I love this idea of psychic navigator. I'm a big believer that one of the reasons why it is. But people say, well, if I see it in the reading, do I have to go through it? I mean, this idea of fate, and that fate is like Calvinistic, huh?
Right, free will. What I tell people again is, if you like where it's going, if you like the reading, you like where the direction it's headed most of the time, you get to to stay your course. Okay. But if you decide, I really don't like this, or it's taking too long for this outcome, I want to either speed it up or do something, that's where your free will comes in. It's just, okay, we as humans see time as linear. That's how we experience it, and that is how we perceive it. So what I can do also is, not only I can talk about what you have put into motion now, but if you decide, okay, I want to change direction and I want to move from Massachusetts to Florida, and please tell me about what will that be. So we will do something that says, okay, we're setting the mindset of making this change, and then I read that strand possibility. The one that's in front of you now is based on what you have done, the decisions you've made. Then up until then, and that's what will happen unless you make changes. But if you decide you want to go on to a different direction, I actually can read that as well.
So
I can read impossibility.
there you go. Impossibility. I love that. Because I think a lot of
Again, possibility, not impossible.
oh, I believe you can read impossibility too. I think we are learning a lot. I mean, as everyone knows, I'm a big science geek, multiverse geek. I love that sort of ideology. And we're starting to see more and more of what was ancient ideas and even more modern ideas are becoming now more and more like they're saying, oh my God, this is a scientific fact, as much as scientific facts exist.
You know, with my limited knowledge of reading and things in physics, in like layman's physics, so to speak, metaphysics and physics, there's a lot of similarities. There truly is. I have found, especially regarding time.
And so as we're coming up on Yule, do you have any Yule traditions that you practice? Or any
When
suggestions?
well, I always like having the wishes with the Yule log. Having when I practice with friends, they usually do a Yule log, and you tie a ribbon around the log based with a wish or an intention moving forward as our new year starts. And or not necessarily starts, but as the sun starts to creep back out to us, and we something like that, and then burning the whole log after everybody is done with their intentions or wishes. I really find that is something that is really, really positive, something that you're able to project really great energy into the future with.
So now a lot of people like New Year's readings, and so they should probably book soon if you really want to give one, or give a gift. So
I do have gift certificates. So I really do believe that if you love somebody, give them the gift of the future.
I'm a big fan of that too. That sort of thing. And one of the things I think people always ask is, how often should you get a reading? So now I know one of the bigger things that's happening is that, if you have got a little bit of a deeper pocket and you really want to do something, I know that a lot of people will buy readings for a friend that is like a year's package, or, get a couple of readings ahead of time. How often do you want people to come to you to do a reading?
I have my normal clients will come to see me maybe twice a year.
Okay.
Because I do a forecast of, 13 to 15 months out, and they're staying staying in their lane, so to speak, or the lane that I've predicted. There's very rarely do they need to get another reading. I actually prefer my clients just to come touch base with me once or twice a year, because I've given them all that information. And I always say to them, time will tell, give it time. Time will tell. And time has all the answers. We just have to wait for them.
But some people are impatient.
I know, but it's as we know, it's in the universe's, or it's in the mother's time, not in ours.
Unfortunately, that's a very true statement at times. And I teach it all the time. We underestimate what we can do we overestimate what we can do in a year, underestimate what we can do in a decade. So, time is that sort of thing. So really quick, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. Do you have any feelings of what 2023 is going to bring to us in general?
That's what I have.
There you go.
Give me 1 second. Okay, I really feel like interesting. I feel that the divisiveness that we've been having with political, there's going to be people who are wanting to work across the aisle better. I do feel like work and the economy is going to be moving upward. I also feel that there are people who are going to be more on a spiritual quest, whether they choose paganism or Hinduism or Buddhism. They are moving away from, we'll say, the dogma of established um, religion and trying to have more of a personal uh, uh, relationship with whom they deem as God. I also feel that, okay, as far as COVID and as far as finances, it's still going to be a long road through 2023, but incrementally, you will start seeing things move in a better direction. It's like things are moving up, not in a steep climb, but in like baby steps. So at least they're not going in the wrong direction. The numbers aren't going up for COVID. People aren't getting sick and being in the hospital and dying. Things that will decrease, but again, baby steps. The economy will go up, and that will be again in baby steps. Think of half steps. Granted, things will move like a half a point, but it's in the correct direction, not in the direction we don't want. So I'll take that. I don't know about you.
That just sounds like a great piece. I'm a big believer in a more positive future. I'm very excited about what's happening in the world. But I'm a techno. I am a apocalyptimist, meaning it may all go to hell, but I'm optimistic that it always turns out right. So I think that's
no, we'll be warm instead of freezing.
Yeah, and so that's sort of energy out there. So okay, so people, marydaisley.com. You can see that.
Daisley.com.
You see that name right there, and you can go ahead and check it out. So take a look at what she has. Think about readings. I know a lot of you are connoisseurs of readings. This one sounds very interesting, especially all you time oriented people. And
yeah, and as I said, feel free to go on Best American Psychics, find my profile, and then read my testimonials. You'll get a feeling for what my readings are really like.
And absolutely. And we're going to check in with Mary after the beginning of the year, because I think there's some lots we can find out about things of that. But this is Yule. So, get a reading for yourself, plan a reading for the new year, and look at it as gifts. Imagine what your friends will do when they say, oh, wow, we got a reading for the Psychic Navigator in their stockings. Wouldn't that just be a thrill for them?
And as I said, there will be some, a gift certificate in hand with a note. So
there you go. And so I will give you the last word. Is there anything last that you want to say to our audience?
I'm a loud, proud pagan, and I have always been, since my 20s, doing and working within the light. And come join me.
Yeah. So that's marydaisley.com. Look it up, check it out, look at it, and we'll be back with more of the tarot. Well, I want to say tarot marathon. That's coming. That's one of our next big projects. I don't want to talk about that right now, but we're going to talk more about the Yule marathon. Check it out, marydaisley.com.
Ed, thank you so very much.
And you're welcome. And this was a pleasure. So, folks, check out the website. Peace. And we're continuing our Yule Showcase and Marathon, showing you some great people. We have Jade Aurora, an author, and she writes books. Of course she does, but fictional books. So a lot of the people we've been interviewing are mostly been in sort of writing text, but we love fiction. We love the stories. So it's always great to do that. Hi, Jade. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So as you stated before, my name is Jade Aurora. I am based in Michigan. I'm 33 and I am an urban fantasy author. My first book was published in July of 2020. And here are my books, Motor City Witches 1 and 2. And in addition to writing, I am also an artist and illustrator. I also paint. And if there's anyone watching that's into anime and cosplay, I'm also a cosplayer. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, you may have seen me at YumaCon at some time.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a pinup model and a burlesque performer.
That's a great combination. So you say urban fantasy novels.
Yes.
For people who are not familiar with that genre, what is that genre?
Urban fantasy is basically fantasy, but it takes place in like an urban setting, like cities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Detroit. So of course I set my books in Detroit because that's what I'm most familiar with.
And it is. And what are Motor City Witches? That sounds fun.
Yeah, so Motor City Witches is about 3 women, Rochelle, Sarai, and Louise. They're all 3 of them are friends. They're in their early 20s. So now Louise is very familiar with magic and the occult because she comes from multiple generations of witches. So she's raised in it. But Rochelle and Sarai, who are also childhood friends, they become interested in the occult through their friendship with Louise. And the book touches on a lot of issues. Like Sarai comes from a conservative Christian household, and she's kind of the family black sheep because she's an aspiring horror author. She is a fan of like the goth aesthetic. So her family doesn't really accept her hobbies or her interests. Rochelle is like myself, a pinup model. And one of her struggles is she is just getting out of a very toxic and emotionally abusive relationship. So like her character development is like when she starts practicing magic, she learns the importance of self-love, rebuilding her confidence, and also so she starts getting into glamour magic. And what I think makes these books unique is that it does have supernatural elements, but it also includes actual spiritual and magical practices.
So right away, this sounds wonderful. And I think Detroit's an unusual place. I've seen Chicago, I've seen Salem, I've seen New York, I've seen Los Angeles. I'm a big fan of Detroit because you guys have a great urban farming community there.
Yeah.
So that and you guys have got a real renewal energy going around there.
Yeah.
It's hard. Detroit's a hard city. So and having that behind it sounds like such a great place to present. Where do they find these books right away? Then I want to talk about a little more of the other things you do.
You can find them on the publisher's website. So blackgoldpublishing.com. And it has a directory that takes you directly to the bookstore page. They are also both available on Amazon. If you are interested in digital books, I have digital copies available on Etsy as well as my Ko-fi page.
Okay, and what's your title on Etsy? What's your shop on Etsy?
The name of my shop on Etsy is Roxy Joe Creation. So ROXY capital JO and then capital C for Creations. That's the name of my shop.
Terrific. So yeah, for anyone out there who's been doing, I know a lot of our people are doing Etsy. If you do buy Amazon, go to your local group, find out who has Amazon Cares and utilize that as well, because that's a way to spread the joy this year. Several of the big groups have Amazon
Cares. And as always, I'm always open for art commissions too. So if there's those that are interested in having art done for them, I'm always open.
Let's talk about that. So art commissions, you talk about art commissions. What type of art are you doing now that you do commissions for?
I do a lot of fantasy art, of course, but I also do pinup art because like I said, I'm in the pinup. I'm part of that community because of the burlesque. So I do a lot of vintage pinup art. I'm pretty much open to anything. So, but my primary genres are pinup, fantasy. I also do a little bit of erotic art as well. So,
sounds like a wonderful combination.
Yeah.
It does. It sounds like a pretty amazing thing. So, pinup. It's a word I haven't heard anyone use recently because when I think of Hilda, I think of all those wonderful paintings on the front of World War II plane.
And that's kind of thing. When I got started, I started modeling in 2012, so it's been about 10 years. I didn't know pinup models still existed until I started seeing models on like my Facebook feed. And I was like, people still do this, because I've always been a fan of vintage fashion. Like growing up, I used to watch old black and white movies with my grandmother. So I used to always like how glamorous these women were with the hairstyles and the dresses they wore. So when I saw that there's still a niche for this, that's when I started looking on how to find photographers in my area, and that's how I basically got started.
That's wonderful. I know. I think when I think of the old movies, I think of Mae West, because I know
Yeah.
both off screen, she was a very fantastic, very free person, but on screen, oh my God, she just lit it up. So when I think of that sort of thing, and so that's great. I mean, there's a lot of energy behind that, so I think there's a lot of room for that, especially in our witchy vibe, just because it seems to be growing. I'm noticing more memes with like individual pictures of people being, you know, the sort of pinup girl on the broom and all that. So the idea of the sexy witch is still very much there. And I know some people don't like that imagery, but you know, a lot of us do. It's a lot of fun.
And also for those that do get my books, I just want to add a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
So my books are for readers 18 and up, because my books do deal with, it has,
that's good to know.
Yep, adult, it has strong language. It also has adult themes. It also deals with dark themes such as mental illness, abuse, violence. And so it's not for your kids. So I just wanted to, and one of my,
well, that's a good thing, because a lot of the authors have been talking about their kid books. And when I think of urban sort of fantasy books, I tend to think of the YA market, the young adult market.
Yeah.
So there's not that. So Motor City is for us adults. That's always a pleasure to see it being written for adults. Huh? Yeah. So let us go ahead. And so you're doing pinup, you're doing art commissions. How do people get to you for art commissions?
So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. So if you find me on Facebook, you can look me up as Jade Aurora. You can I also have a Facebook page called Roxy Joe Creation, so you can find me there, because that's where I have most of my artwork. You can also have Instagram. I have an Instagram page under Roxy Joe Creations, and also my main Instagram is Jade Aurora 1989. That's also my Twitter username. So that's where you're able to find me if you want to commission me for artwork.
Terrific. So I'm going to ask a little bit. We have a lot of young witches and pagans and women and men and every other form of the spectrum, but they're always looking at getting modeling. I've heard this a lot from many of the younger folk in our community about modeling or being more visual. Can you give them any advice, since you've been at this for a short while?
First things first, do your homework, because if you're starting out, you're going to be eager to just get started taking photos and things like that, but you absolutely need to do your research on your photographers. If possible, ask for references of other people they've worked with, because unfortunately, there are predatory people in this industry. So you have to be vigilant. Like, safety is extremely important.
And that makes sense. And then once they know that's true, and then you should figure out how to be their authentic self, or as, you know, because everybody thinks of modeling as being, and I'm making it set straight by a lot of the people that I've been listening to, is that it's really about being authentic. But a lot of people feel like it's fake, it's modeling, it's plastic. That's not true, is it?
No, like, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and you're comfortable, it's going to show in your photos. And that's another thing I wanted to get to. Like, not only be vigilant, but do not be afraid to set boundaries. Like, I'm comfortable with artistic nudity, but there's some models that are not comfortable with it. But you need to set that boundary, and don't let someone pressure you into taking photos that you're not comfortable with. Because if you're uncomfortable or unhappy, it's going to show in your body language it'll show in your facial expressions, and you don't want that.
Because people do in this day and age, especially as we learn more and more about social media, we pick up nuances ever more. So last set, you said you do burlesque.
Yes.
What shows are you doing now? Do you have any shows out there that people can go out and see?
I haven't. I don't. The last show I did was in August. It was the Detroit Erotic Art Expo. So I kind of took a little bit of hiatus, but so at the moment I don't have any shows booked yet, but I'm open for bookings.
Okay, so Jade Aurora, show us your books one more time. Let everybody see those. Motor City Witches. It sounds exciting. It sounds interesting. These are books I'm going to have to read. And there you go. Thank you. And happy Yule. And so people find her, Jade Aurora. You can find her on Facebook. It's blackgold.com for your publisher.
Blackgoldpublishing.com.
Oh, blackgoldpublishing.com.
Yes.
Try it out. It sounds like an exciting publishing company. And any last words you'd like to say to our audience out there for this holiday season?
I just want to say thank everyone for listening, and I hope you have a safe and fun holiday.
And we'll keep an eye on Detroit. I think it's an up and rising community. So thank you. And we continue on our marathon and buy these books, Motor City 1 and 2. It sounds so exciting. I learn something every day. Blessings.
You too.